there's a little bit that happened in between when I turned off the recording and started it up again. I figured I'd talk to a feller who doesn't intentionally screw me over. Don't get me wrong, there's lots of people that screwed me over that did not do so intentionally. Those people, the fact is, they don't come forward about it. I get harmed over it. I get treated like I lied. Not cool. So if you make a mistake, fess up to it. Now you guys get to see that the mistakes that I'm making and the things that I'm having to be afraid of, I'm already well aware of. I speak up about those things before the fact. A lot of these people have these great ideas for trying to set people up. I'm like, I'm not going to set people up for nothing. Or, the people with the great idea of harming people. What I asked Brian Wilgus to do versus what he wanted to go off on his own tweaker fucking mind and do are not the same thing. Now then let's talk about Greg, because we're talking about Greg's crack house. That there picture, that's in between Mossum's apartments and Veltri Insurance. And again, I'm going to say that I've never had any issues with the Veltri Insurance guy, ever. Ever. Matter of fact, it was kind of shitty that I had to try to... I didn't know if Mr. Veltri had the cameras or not. And I kept on trying to get people to ask him because he's got a motion camera behind his... what do you call that? Behind his shop, or his, whatever they call the insurance place. So that motion detector, I was hoping it was attached to a camera, because it does turn on a light. And if it turns on a camera, then he would have a picture, at least, of Mossum Vijan in somewhere between April, I want to say April 12th and April 20th, with that pipe on his shoulder walking across his back parking lot. There's another house in that picture, and the two people that live in that house are also witnesses, both of them, to multiple situations. They've also fed me Thanksgiving dinner. All right, so the thing is, this is where I'm not far from that location at all. All that stuff with Sky, the reason that all those folks know that Sky left and they even know where he went is because I tried to avoid Sky, especially with him and his girlfriend's constant BS. Sky was nice to me, but I'm not going to lie, he's an asshole. So am I. I didn't used to be. Now that little tiny shed there, let me tell you about going to jail. Before I went into jail, that's where Mossum Vijan lived. And that's where a whole bunch of stuff happened. If a SWAT team needed to know the interior of that location, I'd give them every square inch. I could even tell them where the illegal toilet's at. And I can tell you who did the work on that illegal toilet. Not the toilet itself, but the surrounding area. Sky Crawford. Sky Crawford helped put the siding around the half of it that was just a pole barn, because it was a garage attached to a pole barn, basically. And Sky Crawford put all that stuff, all that sheeting around the outside, and then Mossum didn't pay him. He called the cops instead. Mossum claims that he doesn't call the cops. We've got multiple recordings of him threatening to kill me and threatening to kill others. Him cocking a firearm. We've got the actual words here on my own YouTube channel. We have the actual words of Mike Haynes himself speaking about those guns. I'm not the only one that tried to turn them in. How about the situation with Chris Stafford, where you can tell that I definitely tried to turn him in over that stuff well before he was ever arrested. Now, what does this all have to do with Greg's Crack House? And I know I'm going to have to take some repercussions for this, but God bless it, it's worth it. Just because I don't like these people doesn't mean I don't love these people. There are a lot of people in Tillamook who have good intentions. There's a lot of nice people in Tillamook that would like to help, but because of their situation, they can't. And then there's Greg's Crack House, where anything goes till 4 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever. They're screaming out of that place all hours of the day. Then Greg kicks them out and they pour it out onto the streets. You get to see that all the folks he kicks out and doesn't let back there, they still make a quick trip there once in a while and somebody comes outside and meets them. Or you get those cars that park across the street and people run it out to them. Shit, they'll sit there all day because the people inside are on tweaker time. Eventually, after you've sat outside in your vehicle for a week or a week and a half, they'll eventually, invite you inside. And then you go inside and you're on tweaker time while your passenger, whoever it is you happen to bring with you that time, sits in your vehicle for hours. And Brian Wilgus tells me he's been sitting in somebody's vehicle all day long on fucking tweaker time and claiming that I asked him to do that. No, I fucking didn't. I would never pay somebody to fucking go do shit like that. That's fucking insane. And of course, right over there at Veltri Insurance, like that dude has got to put up with so much shit. It's surprising he has any customers. And it's not because he's not a nice guy. I've talked to a couple of people over there that I'm sure one of them was him. I've never actually introduced myself to the fella, and I probably should. I'm having to depend on a bunch of people that moved into So by the time I get some evidence posted up, I've already got 8 to 10 other incidents or other people I spoke with. Those of you who listen to the recording from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, not that any of you would. Obviously, these people exist. Obviously, I'm trying my best to make sure that I'm getting the help that I need, but I'm not. When your loved one is disabled and they get on disability and you think that fucking fixes everything, no, it doesn't. When you go right back to pretending that they don't exist and the only time that they do exist is when you want something, I'll offer you those things so that you can use them. If you help me, I will get you a phone. If the reason that you're not able to help me, your excuse every fucking time is a goddamn phone, I will get you a phone. But you need to not fucking lie to me. When I tell you that I record this shit and I put it online, I mean it. I'm not lying to you. I'm telling you the truth. That's exactly my intention. I intend on posting it on YouTube so that when I go in to turn it into the cops and they try arresting me on false charges, maybe somebody who's not a POC here in the US of A will look at that and go, well, holy goddamn, maybe we should actually do something. Now, Greg, I got to go through and find some of the recordings with Candace all the way back in 2022. He's not only a witness, this dude took an active part in the fucking bullshit all the way back in 2022. Of course, I know who the guy is. Instead of what she wanted to claim, oh, poor her, poor her, poor her. Her son needs to eat. Her son needs to eat. Well, fine. And I got lots of warnings from people in town about, dude, she's a fucking drug addict. She will rip you off. She will take you for all you're worth. Now, I'm one of those people who keeps his word or does my goddamn best. When I told her that I would make sure that her son was dead, and I meant it, well, what she thought that meant was to go get a whole bunch of stuff for her and Gary and her son that was all junk food. All a whole bunch of expensive fucking junk food. And over again, she needed that help. Meanwhile, she gets food stamps. And when people were coming up to me and saying, Sean, she sells her food stamps for drugs. Okay, she gets food stamps. She sells her food stamps for drugs. Now, she knows that you have food stamps and that she can tell you a fucking sob story. She's going to buy a whole bunch of fucking drugs. She's going to use her kid to do it. She's going to go back to this guy's fucking house. And that's what's going to happen, Sean. This lady is not going to help you. She doesn't care. And yeah, I definitely recorded with Candace. I record whenever I go out into public. And I let people know that. I let Candace know that. Then she wanted to be angry at me later on. Her excuse was that it was on YouTube. Well, of course it was on YouTube. I literally met her over the Molly situation. Like, she was outside of the Fred Meyers and came over to talk to me. Don't take no for an answer. Brian Williams didn't want to take no when it came to him going and buying a telephone. Him going down and spending money that is for a work phone. This is what it's for. You get to use the work phone for your private shit, but you need to do the work. It's horrible. I don't have very good service. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to get myself something to eat. But the thing is, Veltri Insurance is getting screwed being stuck next to that place. And all these drug addicts in town who want to talk about how nice Gary is, even when he's a fucking dickhead to him, there's a reason for that. You don't want word getting out that you're talking shit on your dealer? Hell no. You can talk shit on each other all you want. You guys get to hear people saying it's not talking shit if it's true. You get to hear Mike, it's truing Sean in the wheelchair. You get to hear him, it's truing a lot of different people, including Brian Wilgus. And Brian Wilgus, it's trues Tiffany and Pun. And it's trues Mike. And it's trues a whole bunch of people. Like, we got all sorts of crackhead drama. And what did I have to deal with both before and after Natalie was killed? A bunch of crackhead drama. I'm a fucking disabled person who needs help, for Christ's sake. I don't want to fucking hang out with drug addicts. I need fucking help. The places that I'm sent to for help aren't helping me because I have to go in by myself. I have to take abuse, physical assaults, threats, harassment, intimidation, vandalism over and over and over again. And the crackheads who are witnesses to this shit, obviously they're not credible fucking people. But the difference between before the situation with Mossum and after I got out of jail is, fuck no, we ain't making a deal unless it's recorded. If you're going to lie to me and steal from me and go trash or it's truthing everybody else in town, if that's what you want to use my platform for, well, I'm not going to pay you for that. Now, the help that I paid people for, I told them that I would pay them by the hour for looking at evidence and then turning it in with me. We don't need to bother with the turning it in part until they've looked at evidence. That's what I need them for. Verify I'm telling the truth and turn it in with me. But how are you going to do that when you're so fucking methed out of your goddamn mind that you think that pretending that you were hanging out in somebody's fucking car all day to fucking help me? No, that's crackhead bullshit. And the fact is, these crackheads are parking their cars outside of Veltri Insurance every day. He is a victim of these people every day. He's a victim of their screaming, their incessant bullcrap. Make sure I got everything I need to get something to drink. Make sure I got all of the evidence with me that I'm supposed to carry around according to the courts and according to attorneys and according to medical personnel to protect me from the type of abuse that I've had to endure at the hands of police, medical personnel, and the public. Get myself a drink of juice here. Now, you guys, I'm not sure if you can see the difference here between me having a mental breakdown because I'm having to deal with this kind of crap still. People saying, oh, I've changed, but they haven't. Brian Wilgus couldn't text me to let me know that he had his phone. He just took my money and disappeared 3 days. Then while I'm recording a walk live, right before I ran into Miss Carol, he texted me a whole bunch. Well, guess where he was at? Parked right outside of Veltri Insurance. And he claims that he was outside of Veltri Insurance in a car all day long. Just like crackheads. I mean, I don't see how this is a different behavior. I don't see how him stalking my place or being a crackhead, I don't see how either one of those helps me in the least bit, not even a tiny bit. Someone typed here, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude and ignoring you. I'm calling himself Richards, said hi. Your video is cutting out. Live feed, I meant. Has John Doe of Colorado helped you? His name is Skylar Watson of the Estes Park Police Department. So he's in one of the counties that I've had to take a lot of abuse in, and he's part of a department that's unrelated to the others. As you guys may know, in the Zaid Atkinson situation, where Zaid Atkinson was having to deal with that crap, well, that was with Waylon Lolatai. He's the big black man with the shotgun in the Zaid Atkinson video. Because of how many Boulder officers were involved, they had to allow another department to investigate it. Now, they like to send you to a different jurisdiction and then tell them that you're schizophrenic or delusional when you try to turn in a cop. One thing I have to deal with that you get to hear from all these different drug addicts, they do all know each other. Most of them talk shit about each other knowing that I'm recording. Either that or they're idiots. When I say I'm recording and they say, I believe you, and then they get mad at me later on because someone's angry at something they said, you said it. You said it. When you talk trash on somebody or tell the truth about them, because a lot of the things said, I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with at all. You know, a lot of these people's perceptions of each other is spot on. That's one of the things that, like I said, is a verification. But also you get to see when these people go off into fucking Tweakerville because they're on fucking drugs. That's a big difference between me and these other people's. They're on drugs. They're on tweaker time. They have no concept of others. They're busy making excuses. And there's a big difference between making excuses and being forced into a desperate situation. Are these people going to help me turn it in? No. Was Teresa Orn going to look at any evidence, hear my side, or help turn it in? No. She was an alcoholic who wanted to talk about her dead husband, as always. There's several times she was whining that nobody ever came to see her. Nobody ever came to see her. So I let her know I was making the trip. She was aware that I was making the trip. And when I got there, well, she was too fucking drunk to remember her own goddamn address, but wanted to talk to me about her dead husband over and over and over again. So after Natalie was killed and I got dropped off at a Clearview into Denver, Colorado, where my face was all over the news as if I'd been some horrible person out to fucking harm and kill people. No, that's not even the case. That's not even close to it. And these people don't try to understand what I'm being abused over. Ashley, she kind of has a concept of it now. And I had hoped that Brian Willigus would sort of have a concept. But when I had everything ready, because he was going to show up, and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. And of course, texting him doesn't work. Calling him doesn't work. I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. Finally, I had to move stuff so that I could actually do some of the other stuff that I needed to do. There's not a lot of room in here. So I had to start sorting the papers and getting everything moved back over there and getting it back into the piles so that my medical stuff is in the medical file. My stuff that's in the legal file is in the legal file. And if you've been paying any attention, my bed is literally 3 full bins of legal papers that we haven't even started going through. Richard's typed, he's probably on Andrew Wolnez's side. He's Andrew Wolnez's friend, and he's admitted that. And the stuff with Cynthia from the other day, she was telling me that, she doesn't control her husband. He's buddies with Andrew Wolnez and does whatever Wolnez wants him to. Yeah, that's got to be posted online. And I didn't want to post that online. I love Cynthia. Okay. I also love John. That's not a joke. Okay. There's been several occasions when he's helped me out, but there's 2 Johns. There's 2 very distinct Johns. There's John when he's over at the can machines with all the crackheads. And then there's John when he's with his wife and he minds his P's and Q's and he doesn't give me any issues. He helped me to push my car and helped me to try to jump it once at the request of his wife. Didn't give me any issues, but he's given me issues multiple times while he was over at the can machines. And since I got out of jail, he hasn't knocked his stuff off either. He assaulted me on March 1st of 2024. And then on March 2nd, I was assaulted twice by John Stevens. 2 different assaults. One of them was an assault over at the Shell station. And then I crossed the street and he was yelling at me. And I saw him. It's not like I could run away from him. And he came closer and was yelling and screaming about using his name. I was able to get recording started. And I was like, dude, I didn't use your last name. And you walked up on me. And we've posted those videos too. He walked up to me while I was recording. That wasn't my choice or my decision. And the things that he said while I was recording, well, people didn't like what he said. People noticed that it was a live recording like I do. And John said that he doesn't hide anything either, that he's fine with being recorded. And all this Jesus crap. But then you get to hear his own voice, him actually talking to me in these videos about how he's got to listen to Wolnez talking a bunch of crazy crap for 30 minutes so that he could get 2 minutes worth of shit weighed out. Whether they're on each other's side or not, the problem is that I don't have anyone helping me to turn it in. I don't have anybody who gives a shit enough to look at it. All right, I literally have been having to try to pay people $20 an hour since before Natalie Bollinger was killed, because I didn't have a friend or family member to help. And nearly all of the paperwork I was given says that I need a friend or family member. It also has instructions for those people. Do they follow those instructions? No, they go off trying to play fucking Tweaker Miami Vice. No, I don't need any comedy spoof 21 Jump Street stalker bullshit. That's certainly not help. And I certainly don't want things made worse for Mr. Veltri. He's got a bad enough problem with those guys. There's a lot of people who live in the apartment building there that are witnesses. Some of them going all the way back to 2022. And they're having to deal with these people as well. And I've been speaking out about that place on my YouTube channel. It's not like there's anybody in town that doesn't know that that's the local crack house. I'm fairly certain it's not the only one. As far as homeless drug addicts go, yeah, that's where they head. No, I don't believe that Brian had any intention of ripping me off from the start. I think it's the fact that he's a fucking drug addict. I think it's the fact that he wants to get free shit. He saw me as somebody who's going to give him free shit. No, I'm not going to give him free shit. I gave him enough free shit. I had hoped if I give him enough free shit, he wouldn't fucking steal from me, and he did it anyway. If he comes back. That's the thing there. He wants to repeatedly insist, and you guys get to see it happen. You get to hear it happen. You know, I plan on doing a lot of things, but then something else comes up. However, I do my best to keep my appointments, and you can find appointments that I've missed. That's definitely happened. There's definitely times where I have been too physically incapable of moving, but I at least try to let them know. When you pull the bullshit like you pull with the phone, like Brian Wilgus did, with the, oh, he'll be right back, and then he didn't get the phone, and he apparently lost the money. It was in his wallet. Oh, I can believe that. That's a believable story, right? Except he lost his wallet twice, but apparently couldn't find the money. That's when he changes the subject and starts acting like he actually cares about my case for 30 seconds. Whether he's on Andrew Wolnez's side or not makes no difference. It's kind of like John Focius. Whether he's on Andrew Wolnez's side or not, that don't make any difference. Except that, well, we've already got verification that that's absolutely true from Cynthia. And these people know that they can assault me whenever they want. They know that you guys on YouTube aren't going to do anything about it. What I'm going to get is a few of the harassers from the Natalie Bollinger situation, and some of their fake accounts getting on here and making fun of me and teasing me and making jokes about Lenny and tending the rabbits or Hodor. You can actually hear people streaming that stuff at me in the videos here in Tillamook. One of the videos that I was able to find was just some youngins chucking shit at my vehicle here in Tillamook. When I called 911, I had to explain to the 911 operator that I was trying to turn in the deputies and the police officers for actual crimes that they'd committed, So it was kind of a tough situation. That if I try to turn in the assaults by Andrew Womez or Mossam Vajan coming at me with a pipe, I might get arrested for improper use of 911, even if I'm using the not 911 number, the non-emergency number. Richard's type, that's pretty fucked up to do to somebody with autism. Yeah, and people have been saying that since fucking Natalie was killed. And instead of accepting that I'm autistic, they try to pretend that autism is schizophrenia. Like Natalie Bollinger claiming that I was mentally ill. Well, what mental illness? She was mentally ill too. But what's her mental illness? What's mine? Mine is autism. I have Tourette syndrome. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I have obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder is not the same thing as being obsessed with a woman. Not being able to take no for an answer. And you can see in the Tim Beeson messages that I've been posting up. The thing with Tim Beeson trying to pretend like I was some pervert, couldn't take no for an answer. Me and Natalie never fucking dated. There's a reason we never dated. I wasn't interested. The reason that I had to go public before Natalie was killed, well before Natalie was killed, was because I was being threatened and assaulted, and my friends didn't give a holy god fucking damn. All they wanted to do was change the subject. Hey, Sean, you know, if you got some video games, oh, Sean, that autism list, why don't you pull that out and we'll take a look? And I pull it out and they say, read it to me. And I read off one thing on there. And then all of a sudden we're transported to their magical fairy tale land where the very first thing on the list brings up a story that they had in their head. And all of a sudden they're telling you about somebody that they thought might have been autistic once, or how they think they might be autistic. Well, maybe. Or they tell me they don't need to know about autism or know about me because they have a friend who has a kid who's autistic. Meanwhile, I stayed there while Mossam was living in that crack house. I was in there when Stormy was smoking that stuff out of a pipe and he was this close to her face while she was doing it. I was there when he was screaming horrible names at her because she wouldn't have sex with him. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not against using those names. There are times when it is absolutely necessary to use those words to get the point across. And what sucks, unfortunately, is that I went from somebody who hardly ever cursed to somebody who has to curse all the fucking time because nobody's taking it seriously. If I curse, will you take it seriously, or will you pretend that I am trying to butt rape you because I cursed? Like some of the shit that people want to try to pull, and many of them after cursing me out, but the quote-unquote professionals are the worst about it. They want to talk in circles, change the subject, and then, of course, you're not allowed to raise your voice or you're yelling at them. They're allowed to raise their voice over you. This is the reality of going in alone. And although I've shown exactly what it's like having to go in alone time and time again, I've also had to show you what it's like trying to get help as an autistic adult in the United States. You are easy to victimize. You're what's called a rollover. When they lock you up, the county makes a shit ton of money. They get federal money, they get state money. That's your money, you tax dollars. When I used to work for a living and paid them tax dollars, I was fine with them tax dollars being paid because they were going to people who needed them, right? Except they're not. I'm tired of having to tippy-toe around predators. I'm tired of having to talk nice to people who are telling me that they're sex offenders and they're proud. Oh my God. Only in Tillamook fucking Oregon. Only in Tillamook, Oregon are you going to hear Zachary Dose bragging about the things that he did to little kids. Only in Tillamook, Oregon are you going to hear people like Christian Amata bragging about what they did to little kids. God, this place is disgusting. Richard. Is it Richards or is that Ricarda? I don't know. That A, it's either an A or an S, but my eyes are kind of blurry. I don't know who he goes after. I know that Mike claims that he's gone after Mike. I know Ashley has claimed that he went after her. That she's claimed that on multiple occasions. I also know that a lot of people have backed up that statement. I know that Nick Geffrey has backed up that statement. I know that Jeff Heinrich has backed up that statement. Well, is still trying to pull his crap, running around pretending I'm schizophrenic and delusional, telling people I'm schizophrenic and delusional. I still have people harassing me. I still have to deal with people sending me stuff over the internet, these wannabe accounts. And when it comes to all of this, I've told people time and again, I will show you my arrest record. I have my arrest record. I will show it to you. You go ahead and show me on there where at any point there's any sort of even arrest of that sort. Not even conviction. There's not even an arrest. I've never been charged with any of that crap. The problem is that we're not dealing with reasonable, irrational people here. We're dealing with people who are biased. You know, when it comes to these drug addicts that all hang out over at Greg's, sure, they'll talk shit about each other over at Greg's or out on the streets when they're talking to me, or talk truth, as they want to call it. Well, it might be the truth. The things that I was told about Brian Wilgus, for the most part, were true. The things that I was told about Pun and Tiffany, well, that goes right along with my personal beliefs and how I've had to deal with the situation. What my fears are of having to go to addicts for help, addicts who every one of them says they're different, they're not like that, or that they're sober and they've changed. But I know that when I was drinking every day, and I was drinking every day, all through high school, well, all through high school in Nebraska, I knew that as long as I could get alcohol from Larry and Doug, that I was always going to be drunk. When I turned 21 and could buy my own alcohol, it was no longer fun. Also, I was living with roommates that wanted to live the party life, and they thought all of my money should go to the party life. So I had to live on a can of government powdered mashed potatoes. I made mashed potato burgers. You ever try making a burger out of a mashed potato patty and then try to make a bun out of a mashed potato patty? You can be broke in America. It happens. Also, when we've got a situation where Oregon invited every fucking druggie in America for a free-for-all for 4 years, Well, yeah, now there's a lot of fucking junkies that live here. And then we got a bunch of services that they want all this money so that the government can take this money and help out the drug addicts. Well, what about the people who aren't drug addicts? What about people like me? Oh, you want that money still? So you're going to commit fraud by pretending that I must be on drugs, right? Well, how about we take a whiz quiz and find out? Amazing how that works. There's a big difference between seeing if someone's actually on drugs and assuming they're on drugs. One of the reasons that it takes 6 months to diagnose schizophrenia is because even with somebody who is experiencing, well, even hallucinations or delusions, it might be over something. They might be experiencing that because of a recent loss. They might be experiencing that because they're on drugs. That includes pharmaceuticals, not just street drugs. And how many people want to tell me, oh, well, alcohol's all right, it's legal. Well, maybe it is, but I can tell you from experience that pot's legal too. And if I have to do important shit, I can't do it stoned. I know for a fact that if I'm getting on a roof, I'm not smoking before doing so. I know that smoking marijuana and then going and doing something important probably isn't going to result in much. And kind of like Veronica Bruce or Veronica Seward, I guess now, because she's married. I needed her to understand something very serious, but two things that she didn't take serious is number one, the effects of alcohol, and number two, the person that you're supposed to be helping, the person who is asking for your help because you're supposed to be a professional, you're supposed to do this for a living, and then you are going to get drunk and treat me like shit. That's what she did. And a lot of people did that. Like, are you kidding me? The only time that Kim Trujillo actually stopped to take the time to actually listen, she was fucking drunk. That was around Christmas of 2016, right after all this bullshit with Natalie first started. The problem is that Joshua Hebert, woke up and he was a complete and total asshole. Joshua was one of those people who thinks that he knows every goddamn thing, and you're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to have an opinion. You're not allowed to have emotions. You're not allowed nothing. He believes he should be in complete control and he should be able to treat you like shit until you do what he fucking wants. A lot of these people, because I have money, instead of treating me like shit to get what they want, they act nice and friendly and pretend like they're gonna, and then what do? What does Brian Wilgus repeatedly do? Disappears saying he's gonna come right back and doesn't come back. Takes off with my money and then I never see the money again. Show that he's completely irresponsible as a human being. When these people want to try to soften me up a bit, wrap the bacon, so to speak, they do the same thing that they do in Colorado. In Colorado, it's a little bit different. They come up to you and say, hey, fam. That's short for family. No, we ain't family. Family wouldn't do what you did. Family wouldn't make excuses for years. Knowing that this is going on, they're just going to look the other way. Family would not choose drugs over family. So no, you ain't family. Ain't none of you family. Not even my relatives. Not even the people who are related to me by blood. None of them are family. They're relatives. I know who they are. I don't like the kind of people they've chosen to be. I don't like pedophiles. I don't like rapists. And you know what? I've met a few murderers I like. When it comes to personalities, I can like your personality all I want. You can have the greatest personality on the face of the planet. but you don't touch fucking kids. Now, this poor Veltri guy over at Veltri Insurance, does he want to be blasted all over YouTube? No, he doesn't. No, he fucking doesn't. Now, I had a pretty good idea for trying to reduce the third-party harassment by Andrew Wolnez. The problem there is that, well, Andrew Wolnez doesn't care about a protection order, and none of these people seem to understand that third-party contact is illegal. When I tell you that it's illegal, that means it's illegal. When he says that he's stalking my YouTube channel or says that I'm waiting for you on my YouTube channel and wants to tell you that I'm schizophrenic and delusional, and this is what Brian Wilgus claimed right here on this YouTube channel. You can hear it in his own voice. Now, one of the things is we need to look through actual evidence of why this shit's happening, and that's what needs to be fucking looked at and turned in. Like I said, Wolnez isn't the problem. Wolnez himself is not the fucking problem. Having to go to junkies for help is the fucking problem. Getting treated like I'm a junkie to get help is the problem. Having to go to schizophrenic for help is the problem. Being treated like I'm schizophrenic when I try to get the help is the problem. It doesn't matter how much goddamn evidence I have if nobody's going to look at it. Is Veltri, is he fine with all of the trash over there? I'm not talking about the human beings. I'm talking about the literal garbage. Is he okay with that? How about the screaming around his business? How about the fact that his customers have to drive through either one of those two side corners there? If they are driving to Veltri Insurance, they are likely parking right next to somebody who is strung out on fucking drugs and steals shit. We got to hear all sorts of about how Seth is nothing but a thief, and Seth steals this, and Seth steals that. Seth will steal from his own mama. Seth stole your wallet. Seth stole your wallet. Well, you know what? It didn't turn out that Seth had stolen my wallet, did it? And with Brian Wilgus, when my wallet disappeared, I tried to cut people off on that one too. Yeah, I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to ask. Who was the last person in my tent? And then you're going to tell me about how he's a drug addict and you see him over at the drug house all the time, but you're not a drug addict. Yeah, I've fucking heard it all. I have heard it all. There's also when people show every example that they're not sober, that they're just expecting me to blindly believe whatever bullshit they're telling me. If Andrew Wolnez actually did that, we need to turn it in. Now, what is it that Brian Wilgus claimed he was going to do? Because he couldn't do it any other way. He was going to take this phone home and he was going to make a video. And then after he made the video, he was going to send it to me. He never did that. It was always some excuse. Like I said, none of the things that he claimed he was going to do to help me that I actually thought were okay ideas, he didn't actually fulfill any of them. Now, how fucking crazy is that? Then there's the number of times that I gave him money and told him specifically what that money is for. Hold on a moment. Not the worst bathroom in the world. Not the most pleasant, but you know what? I don't have running plumbing. Meanwhile, if you want to bitch about me not having housing and how I should apply for housing, I've done nothing but apply for housing. That's all of these other services that the police send me to. That's all they care about. Except you never get housing. You never get housing. You're having to rely on these people who are not communicating with each other. Well, turns out they are communicating with each other. They're just not communicating the right information. The stuff that Melissa wanted to say, well, it was obviously incorrect when she wanted to talk about what me and Russell had done, and also what me and Shelly had done. And then, of course, there's Sean Hubert. And he wanted to talk about what had supposedly been done, when the recordings show very clearly that's not what was done. And meanwhile, is Russell coming forward with any of this? Did Russell ever ever actually make the effort to keep his word to make that goddamn phone call with me? No, he didn't. He is literally, to this day, never tried to make that phone call that he was supposed to make that day. See, he dialed the number and then hung up and said that we'll do it on Thursday. And that was 6 months ago. So hopefully Mr. Veltri is informed that I made this video. Hopefully he's informed that there is somebody who has been there through all of it, who has plenty of evidence of it, who has been recording, who knows exactly who these people are. And here's the thing, is that these drug addicts aren't in trouble because of their drug addictions. All right? Their choices may have been as a direct result of their drug addictions. But the issue here is that they decided to take advantage of a fucking disabled person. When you want to try telling me I put myself in this position, no, I fucking didn't. I didn't have a friend or family member that gave a shit. I still don't. How difficult is it if you actually care about somebody and they're trying to tell you something important? How difficult is it to shut the fuck up? I have to go to YouTube because what are we told to do? We're told that if people are doing something that is harmful to us, we're supposed to tell them, right? Well, what happens when you tell them? They immediately start making excuses and playing victim. Of course, I speak up, and I'm not going to stop speaking up. Even when I was locked up, I spoke up. This phone's going in my pocket for a couple of seconds. I do apologize. There seems to be a lot of people who think that having good intentions makes them a good person. And that's certainly not the case. When you have good intentions but no follow through, you harm the person who's trying to believe in you. A lot of these folks, they're afraid to come forward because of their own past. Well, might I remind you, these people have approached my sister in person and they've threatened to kill my family on multiple occasions. Not this whole, oh, well, he said everyone dies, so that means he's threatened to kill me and my kids. Really? Are you on fucking drugs? Oh, you guys want to pretend that after Natalie was killed, that it was some bullshit about me getting my pee-pee touched. It was never about getting my pee-pee touched. Hey, Dennis. Do what? Sir, I can't hear you over that loud-ass red truck. No, that's all right. You go ahead and keep it. You need it.
I don't need one. Wait.
I'm not going to take from folks as long as I can provide for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still trying to turn in that stuff from Care and Miss Shelley.
Yeah. They took a year to get me a maid. Unbelievable. I don't need a fucking maid. I need financial help, not somebody to come and clean my truck bed. Unbelievable. They said, oh, I'm sorry you didn't get it. I just filed disability. I thought I had filed disability a year ago. It took them 7 months to file a piece of paper. Unbelievable. Unfucking believable.
Was that through Shelly?
Yeah, it took her 5 months to pass it on to Brandon. I swear to God, she's still on heroin.
Yes, sir.
Funny.
Yeah, you good? I'm gonna get to walking a little bit. You've got my number, right?
You want to have beer?
I do.
I think Garlic.
Oh, I do not.
Oh, you don't got it with them?
No, sorry about that. Didn't mean to lie to you.
Never lied to me.
Man, what sucks is you had a stroke.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they should probably have a little more understanding about why you have difficulties doing this shit.
Yeah. Why I'm having difficulty living in the bush. Well, you're going to give me a maid to clean my bush? Fucking idiot shit.
Yeah, I've been speaking about that crap too, and I call it the same stuff, idiot shit, or tweaker time. Like, Shelly goes into fucking tweaker time, and she's real friendly about bullshitting you, though.
Yeah.
I think that's even worse than the ones who are assholes about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't butter my biscuits while you lie to me, you know? Yeah, my issue with these people, like I said, do whatever drugs you want. I don't care. Like, I'd prefer that you didn't. I'd prefer that you did them away from me. I prefer that you not come anywhere near me. At the same time, just because somebody's on drugs doesn't mean I don't see them as a human being. If they're struggling, yes, I want to see them in a better place. When we've got schizophrenics out here, I want to see them somewhere that people don't take advantage of schizophrenic people, as opposed to a place that's trying to profiteer from it, such as a corporation, corporate hospitals, corporate nursing homes. What the hell is this shit? And they tell us it's going to make it even better. It's going to make it easier. It's going to make it so that people are less likely to get harmed. And then the people at the top don't care, and that lack of give a shit filters down in their hiring practices. I'm not interested in getting anybody hurt, and I'm not interested in hurting anybody. At the same time, I'm not going to keep your fucking secrets when they're getting people hurt. I'm not going to keep your secrets when you're taking advantage of people in a desperate situation. If I give you a telephone so that you can help me turn in the shit that you're making the excuse that you can't turn it in because you don't have a telephone, I tell you very specifically that that telephone is for work. That phone is for work. When I give you money for that work, thank you, thank you, thank you might seem like the proper response, but how about instead of one thank you for every $20, how about you do an hour of work? Not the work you want to do, but the work that needs done. You wouldn't hire a plumber to do your roof, would you? What about if you hired a plumber to do the plumbing and he just decided to do your roof? Obviously, you wouldn't be happy about that. If you spent all the money to get a bunch of plumbing stuff, to hire the plumber to get the job done, you need a plumber, right? I need someone who's a friend or family member, right? And nearly all these drug addicts out here have pretended to be my friend. Oh, Sean, I'm your friend. I'm your friend. Well, if you were my friend, you'd follow through. If you were my friend, you'd listen instead of, well, everything but. You get to see how Brian's tweaker ass wanted to twist and manipulate him into him stealing money from me and going out of his way to pretend like he's the victim after all this shit. No, he's absolutely not. This shit's not okay. Now, if he was lying about what Andrew Wolnez said to him, that's not okay either. If he told the truth about what Andrew Wolnez said to him, well, that needs to be turned in. On the bright side, I got his words. So although I'm not completely out of it as far as evidence goes, I still don't have somebody sober to look at evidence and help turn it in. It's the one thing I've been after since before Natalie was killed. You know, through my entire life, I've had to deal with people who are like, oh, Sean, you're intelligent. You should be able to do this yourself. That's not how it works. No matter how much you want that to be the way that it works, it doesn't work that way. Like my dad believing that if I'd have stayed with him, then it was a matter of he already had the guy at the state office that was going to press one button and I'd get disability right when I turned 18. Well, that is not how it works. He was insisting it was. Meanwhile, he was insisting that it was years after, obviously, I did not get anything. Not exactly effective, is it? Anyway, you're getting muted and going in my pocket for a second. turn off the mute for a second. Yeah, I just went into a liquor store to buy a non-alcoholic drink. It's because they have the cheapest monsters in town. You know, right now they got them things on sale at some of the other stores, and it's still cheaper to go there and buy one by itself for $2.99 than it is to go to Safeway. Well, I can't say that anymore. I ain't been inside a Safeway a while. I do know that at the Shell station, you have to buy 2 of them at a time to get them on sale. And it's still over $3 a drink. And same thing at the Center Market. So yeah, the liquor store is the cheapest place to get it. Now, as far as having to throw money at drug addicts, that's basically what it is. I'm never going to get it back. I basically have to write it off. And whenever one of them comes up and says they'll pay me back, no, you won't. You're going to forget about it as soon as it goes up your nose or in your veins. You're going to forget all about it. And later on, if I bring it up, you're going to be an asshole to me and say that I'm hounding you about it. So just fucking take it and go, please. And you can see it doesn't matter how much you throw money at somebody. If they're not a good person to begin with, throwing money at them isn't going to make them a good person. And it's not going to make them do good things. I'm going to turn the volume off and go in and get myself a cinnamon roll. There's a bunch of nice cars out today. I got myself a cinnamon roll, got myself something to drink. I'm gonna go back to the tent. You know, when you're taking abuse and people are so nonchalant about it, even more nonchalant about ripping you off, it's pretty fucked up. Telling you it's your fault. You would ask them to do some crazy fucking tweaker shit. Like, no, I'm not gonna ask you to do crazy tweaker shit. And there's a reason for that. It's because I'm not a fucking crazy tweaker. On the bright side, Mr. Veltri isn't being targeted specifically by any of those individuals, to my knowledge. But that doesn't mean he doesn't still have to deal with it. He doesn't still have to listen to the screaming. And how much of that do you think that I'm able to deal with without having a mental breakdown? How much of this could any of you deal with before putting a plug in your head? It's not that I didn't go to the people I was told to go to. I absolutely did. It's not that I didn't do the things that they told me to do. I absolutely did. The problem is, without a friend or family member doing it with me, they can pretend whatever the fuck they want. They get to use that mentally ill crap to keep actual evidence out of court and to allow my predators repeated access to me. You tell me just don't go around those people. Well, I'm sorry, but these fucking crackheads are everywhere. It's not like I have room service. It's not like I live in a friggin' mansion and have maids and servants and cooks and toilet cleaners. No. Fact is, if someone's going to clean my toilet, it's going to be me. I haven't been threatened, harassed, or assaulted on this walk. Oddly, I haven't really seen anybody on this walk. And that's a good thing. When I first started reporting about the drug issues on this block, it was because all the druggies in town were going in and out of the back gate. Well, what served as a back gate later became a ginormous hole in the fence. And so the city put up a fence to keep all the tweakers on the other side of the fence so they couldn't use the parking lot to go back and forth. That was a nice addition, actually. There is no longer access to the library parking lot from Greg's Crack House. Now, this vandalism and this cruelty, and of course, you know, it doesn't matter if it's illegal for me to use my food stamps that way, for example. What matters is that for a small quantity of time, oh, sorry, I'm making sure I look both ways before crossing the road. That situation with Candace, for that small period of time, well, I still got ripped off, didn't I? That's how Amber put it. Doesn't matter that I was trying to do the right thing. It also doesn't matter that I did have ulterior motives. You know that drug addicts out here, especially out here, will rob you of house and home if you say no. Most of these predators are primarily women, but not all of them. It has nothing to do with what's right. It has nothing to do with justice. It has to do entirely and completely with dependence upon drugs for these people. And I have to worry that if I don't spend my money in the way that they want me to, that it might result in retaliation. And we've gotten to see that time and again with Christian Alexander. If he didn't get what he wanted, he'd either vandalize the property down there, or he'd vandalize my property, or he'd get very threatening. You also get to hear how stupid people try to manipulate the English language, like when Ernie was being mean to Valerie. Tried to pretend that me screaming "this is not okay" is some sort of a horrible act. What's the difference? Like, you know, when you poke somebody with a stick over and over and over again, and they scream for help, so you pretend that they're violent? Yeah, that's kind of stupid. That's the way that drug addicts think. We got to hear from both Valerie and Ashley on that video about Ernie that sure, he was saying he was sober, but they don't believe it. Or they have enough trepidation about the situation to know better. I'm going to put this in my pocket a second. The problem is finding somebody who actually cares, and nobody actually cares. Regardless of what nice shit you're doing, if you don't give a fuck to hear my story, look at evidence or turn it in, if you're too busy saying you should do this and you should do that, you can, well, go somewhere else. I'm tired of these fucking drug addicts. I am tired of them. They are disgusting human beings. This is a whole group of people who are no longer people. These people will rip off their own mothers. And you have gotten to hear these people who will rip off their own mothers saying that each of the other people will rip off their own mothers right here on my YouTube channel as well. So keep that in mind. When they want to claim that they're my friends, well, that's not what a friend would do. A friend would fucking help you turn it in right away, not go do some crackhead shit and tell you you owe them fucking money.